Alright guys, welcome again. My name is Omar and this is the CPA Information Center. I am here at Brooklyn Park Junior High explaining to you guys not-for-profit accounting, financial reporting, part 1, in my attempts to talk about not-for-profit accounting, characteristics for not-for-profit, industries that use not-for-profit accounting, users of the not-for-profit financial statements, the full accrual basis of accounting, and yeah, so not-for-profit accounting is entities that are defined by the FASB as entities that have the following characteristics. Their revenues come from contributions. Their operating purpose does not include profits, although there is nothing to preclude the generations of a profit, and their ownership interests are unlike business enterprises. Okay, what does that mean is there's no profit scheme, and generally divided into 4 separate categories for the industries that use not-for-profit, which are the healthcare organizations, educational institutions, voluntary health and welfare organizations, and other private not-for-profit organizations. Okay, so examples of healthcare organizations would be hospitals, nursing homes, hospices, educational institutions like colleges and other schools, voluntary health and welfare organizations like the United Way or American Red Cross or March of Dimes. And other private not-for-profit organizations would be cemetery organizations, fraternal organizations, labor unions, museums, libraries, performing art organizations, and professional organizations like the AICPA. Okay, the users of the not-for-profit financial statements include donors, members, creditors, and others who provide resources for the not-for-profit entity. Let's see here. Full accrual basis of accounting. Yeah, so also in not-for-profit financial reporting, they have standards. They have the FA, SAB, ASC, and then the required financial statements for not-for-profit are the statements of financial position, which is the balance sheet, the income statement, which is statements of activities, and the statements of cash flows, which is cash flows. And we were reporting the expenses by nature and function for the statements of activities as a schedule in the separate financial statements. So statements of financial position is also known as the balance sheet, and we want to know in not-for-profit statements of financial position is divided into 3 things: asset, liabilities, and net assets, equity. And the sequence of accounting displays for assets and liabilities should be classified as current and non-current, should be sequenced by the nearest cash and liabilities to maturity, and net assets with and without donor restrictions. So we look at these assets in the not-for-profit, either they have without donor restrictions or with donor restrictions. And you got to look out for that in the test, so there's a lot of that. And I think that some statements of financial position disclosure. So also gives us some not-for-profit organization net assets with donor restriction supplementary disclosure. So shows you their financial statements, and also it has a specified purpose, time, spending policy, specified event, not to subjects. Also supplementary disclosures like net assets without donor restrictions. is equal to quasi-endowments. No. And then they have the full accrual statements of financial position for not-for-profits, which is the assets, liabilities, and net assets with and without donor restrictions. Yeah, so it shows you all that in our chapters, and also shows the fourth part of this installment is the statements of activities, which equals the income statement, which is reports revenues and expenses, gains and losses. And the required elements are total net assets with or without donor restrictions. So you gotta look out for that in the test. Classification of revenue gains and other supports. So net assets without donor restriction there is restrictions that include rendering services, contribution, no explicit donor stipulation, gains and losses that are not accompanied by explicit donor. And then there's net assets with donor restrictions. With donor restrictions include expenditures for a specified purpose, passage of time, temporary in nature, investment in perpetuity. And then we also have the restrictions, the reclassification of restrictions, of donor imposed restrictions. So then we keep on going. There is expense classification. In the statements of activities, there's program services, support services, and combined costs. And in those program services are activities in the organization that are chartered, for example, university, hospitals, unions, daycares. Also, you got support services, which are fundraising, management in general, and membership development. They also give us a statement of activity of full accrual, which has revenues, gains, and other supports without donor restrictions and with donor restrictions. Also, they have the reclassifications, the expenses and losses, the program and support, like we just talked about a couple seconds ago, and reporting expenses by nature and function. So we have expense classification for program activities and supporting activities. And that brings us to the end of not-for-profit accounting. And let's see here. Not-for-profit financial reporting, part 1. That concludes my explanation of kind of what's going to be in that chapter for F8. And hopefully you guys retain something and heard some stuff that's familiar to you, and you help internalize it and be ready and bring it to the test. Again, my name was Omar Abu Mayali. This is my YouTube channel, and I just want you to subscribe to my page, make a comment on any of the videos you like my video, and hopefully we'll see you in the next one. Thanks again for stopping in.